Welcome to another video. So in this video we're going to be changing the transmission filter and fluid, and we're going to be doing it without a lift, and it's not that difficult once you understand. The problem with this, of course, is you have to go underneath of it, and obviously if you've ever looked at these, it's too low to get under unless you lift them up. So a couple things before we get started. These are recommended to do every 70,000 miles, and the filter is built in the oil pan, so it comes as one unit. And you just buy that and you get the fluid. So I know somebody that let it go to like 140 almost and never changed it, and the transmission started acting up, wouldn't shift right. They changed the fluid and it straightened it all up. So that shows you how important this is. These things are awful expensive to get replaced. The other thing is, if you look around, you'll see people say, oh, I'm using this poly fluid, or this fluid's better, or this transmission fluid's better than that. This is what BMW recommends. So the way I look at it, if BMW says it's good enough for their car, then that's what I'm going to use. Same way with the engine oil. I don't use like the Moly or anything like that. I just use the recommended Castro, whatever BMW recommends for your car. But it's up to you. You can buy these kits all together online. This one came with new screws and a new plug. Some of them don't. I don't know that it's a necessity that you put new screws in, but anyway, it comes with it, so I'm going to stick them in there. The only other thing, these are Torx, and the drain screw is an Allen. And the only other thing you need some sort of pump system to pump the fluid in. And you'll see why as we get into it. So I got this straight from China on eBay, and it works really good. So I don't know what to say. But at any rate, you can look around and see where you can find like this to pump the oil in, because the oil has to be pumped in. And you'll see what I mean. It's not that difficult. So at any rate, let's get to it. First thing we got to do is get the car up. So what I do is, you see in the rear, I got drive-on ramps. And I back the car up in the drive-on ramps. Then the front, I lift up. And you see I got jack stands under there. Very important. Be safe first, because I know a car fell on them and killed them. It's not a joke, and it's not worth the amount of money that you'll save. Be safe. Any rate, if you get it up like that, put the jack stands under it. And I always put the jack stands, make sure there's some weight on the jack stands, and then leave the pump jack also in there. And then push on the car. Push on it back and forth on the side and the front, and see if it moves at all. Make sure you got a real solid car. So once you do that, you see this car is high enough to get underneath there. So no problem. So we can lay down and we can get underneath there, and we can get done what we got to do. So the first thing we got to do, if we look underneath here, is we have to remove the cover. And it's just got little screws in there, and I'm sure they're metric, but I'll tell you what I use is a 5/16 nut driver on a drill. And I don't even know what size metric it is, but that is what I've always used. There it is over there, my drill. A little bit beat up, but it's just got a 5/16 nut driver, and that's what I use. So at any rate, we're going to take the cover off, and then we'll move on and see what we got next. Okay, so we got the cover off. Next thing we got to do is remove the oil plug. Now, I should have said in the last video that the car needs to be level to put the proper amount of fluid in. And there's a process we have to go through to add the fluid to make sure it's right. There's no dipstick. So, there is a way, and it's not that difficult, but the car needs to be level. So what we got to do is, you can see there I have the number 10 Allen wrench and the plug. And fair warning, the fluid will come out fast, so be prepared for it. or you'd be laying there in oil trying to take the pan loose. But at any rate, we're going to take that loose and drain the fluid out next, and then we'll move on. Okay, so it's draining out. So the next thing we got to do is this bracket here that holds the bottom cover on. There's like 2 number 10 screws that hold that on. We have to remove that. Then we have to take out these Torx all the way around. And they are I forgot already, a T40. So T40 Torx, got to take them all out. And what I usually do is, because there'll still be oil in the pan, loosen them up, leave the front ones in a little bit but loose, and let the bottom of the pan pull down, and leave your whatever you're using to drain your fluid in underneath of it, because some more fluid will come out. But at any rate, that's what we're going to do next, and then we'll move on and see what else we have to do. Okay, so we got it out. As you can see, there's still, that's what I mean. So if you pull that pan down, first time I did it, I just pulled the pan down, I had oil all over the place. So like I say, I let it, lift down on one end, and you carefully take it down. So the plug is actually in from the factory. You get a new plug, and don't bother with it, just leave it alone. It's set the way it's supposed to be. And then you have your filter here. And what I do is just stick my finger in a little bit of oil and wrap some oil around your rubber here for the seal. And then we put it back in. As you can see, this has got a rubber gasket, and then these got metal sleeves. So these sleeves bottom out, and it'll tighten against the rubber gasket. So we're going to put that on next. And like I say, we got all new screws here. I've gotten the kits before that did not have new screws. I never had an issue. And this is actually the fill plug drain that we'll see in a minute how to put the oil back in. But first we got to put the bottom cover back on. So we're going to put that on, and then we'll move on. Okay, so the pan is on. Next thing we got to do is we got to take this plug out. So that's a number 8. And you're probably going to have to put a piece of pipe or something on here. It's very tight, but we got to take that plug out right there, and that was a new one I said. And be sure to watch till the end. I'm going to show you how to reset the transmission. So these are actually what they call learning transmissions. So they learn your driving habits, and they adjust themselves accordingly. So I like, when I put new fluid in, to reset it. So I'll reset it and I'll start from scratch. It's not a necessity, but I just like to do it that way. So at any rate, we're going to show you that, after we get everything set. So we get that plug out, and then we're going to move on. Okay, so I got my pump all filled up. I'm able to get like 2 quarts at a time in there. And then you see that it gives you all these attachments for virtually, I think it's just primarily for transmissions, but I guess you could use it for anything that fills. So they got some screw-in ones here, so I don't know how many different cars it fits, but this one seems to work good. After you get that plug out, you put this in the hole, pump it up, get some pressure in there, and then you just open the valve and let the fluid in. So we have to get 7 quarts or thereabout in. There's a way to measure it, and we're going to go through that. So what you do is just start out this way, and you keep dumping fluid in until it starts to come out of the hole. So once it starts to come out of the hole, you put the plug in, and you don't have to make it real tight, just snug it. And then we get inside, start the engine, and put it from park to reverse, to drive to reverse with your foot on the brake. And don't give it any gas, just go back and forth. So do that a couple times, and then shut it off, and we'll come back down and take the plug out and see if we can add more. So we're going to do that, and then we'll move on. Okay, so after you do that, you take we've taken the plug back out and filled it up till it comes out again. Then we need to go up and start the car and run it until it's like between, BMW says 102 and 122 degrees. Warm enough, but not warm enough to burn you. Then we leave it in park. We come down with the car running, take the plug loose and pump fluid in until it comes out again. And once it comes out of the hole again, then we put the plug in, we can turn the car off, and we can tighten the plug all the way. And then we'll move on and see what else we have to do. Okay, so when you get the fluid in, with the transmission warmed up, and like I say, you fill it till it starts coming out, put the plug in. If in fact you don't get the full 7 quarts in, which BMW calls for, don't worry too much if it's close. I've seen them take different amounts. The transmission is warmed up and fluid is coming out, it is full. That is how you know. So the other thing is how we do the reset on the transmission. So if you're not familiar with Pro Tools, it's one of the best ECU readers that are available for BMW. This thing's great. It's like $200 one-time fee. You download an app on your phone and you just plug it into your port, and it'll read and reset just about anything. So I had like a door handle bad on a BMW one time, the locking door handles, and that's common. Then they make the battery go dead, and it told me which one it was. So it gives you a lot of information. It's a very big step up. I know I had the E39, and you basically had to have a laptop to do the programming on it. But at any rate, you see this, we click on the transmission. Oh, there we go. And then we go to functions, and it'll say reset learning function, reset learning paddle, reset all adaptations. So I'm going to do all, confirm, operation successful. There, it's done. Very simple thing to do. Anyway, I hope this helps you out some. These cars can seem overwhelming. We have a lot of videos on things that aren't that hard to do. So be sure to subscribe, take a look at everything else. Thank you for watching, and you have a pleasant day.